What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode here with Mr. Farmers himself, Mr. Juan Valenzuela. Wanted to make sure and give you guys some feedback about some of the questions that I get, and that's kind of why I wanted him to talk to you guys directly, because I get asked these questions and it's hard for me to explain because I don't understand exactly how it works. So somebody says, "Hey Edgar, how come my property coverage is 500,000 when I bought my house for 600,000, or vice versa? Sometimes it's the opposite, where they need more coverage than what their house purchase was." So why don't you go over how that works for insurance?
Yeah, definitely. So what I like to tell people is a good way to look at it is, there's market value and then there's replacement cost. And that's really knowing the difference between the two is really important, because it's going to be one of two scenarios. Either you're overinsured or you're underinsured. And as a long-term agent, I'm able to distinguish if you're over or underinsured. Because sometimes, like I tell people, depending on the market that you're in, for instance, Los Angeles or San Diego, right, realistically, it might cost $400,000 to build the actual house. But in reality, because of the land and, the features around that property, the market value might be like 600,000 or 650. And we can assess that based on a replacement cost valuation that we do. So every single home that we get, we do a 360 valuation where we basically assess the value of a property from the attic, from the roof all the way down to the foundation. We create a valuation, and with that value, we're able to insure the property correctly, and we're able to offer solutions. Because sometimes, you may be in a very lofty area, but you may be overinsured by 100,000, 200,000 in coverage. You never know.
And that could save you money if you have the right coverage. And it's not like they're going to give it to you anyway, the extra. They're just going to give you exactly what you needed anyway.
Exactly.
So the other thing I wanted to kind of ask you about is, how often does that change? Because I know that with inflation and all this stuff, that a lot of people that haven't checked their insurance for years, they still assume that it costs $100 a square foot to build a house, when it's like four times as that.
Exactly.
So how often do you want people to come up to you and tell you, "Hey, can you relook my policy once again to make sure we're good?"
That's a great question, Edgar. I think every single year you have to look at it, because if you're not looking at it, you're either losing money or you're spending too much money. And the reason that I mean by that is, for instance, a perfect example is a lot of policies back in the day for condos were written, and they were written with bare bones coverage. Okay, so let's say they bought the condo in the early 2000s. Now it's 2026. Now it's way different. Now the price per square foot has gone up 3-4 times. So you have $75,000 in building coverage for a condo, but it's worth $250,000. You're underinsured by $180,000.
And as far as lenders are concerned, we ask for that 360 valuation on every transaction. But here's the kicker: we don't ask for it every year. As long as we get the policy, we just leave it alone. So that's something that you have to make sure that you rely with yourself and the agent to make sure you communicate, because the banks aren't going to be taking care of you to have the right coverage after they already get you into the house. Every year they get the policy, they don't ask for that valuation anymore. So
exactly, yeah. They basically, when you get your policy, they just expect you to renew and renew. That's why you have to actively look at your policy, have these conversations with your agent, and say, "Hey, what does this mean, or what does this number mean, and why does it say this number on Zillow?" We're happy to help, answer any of those questions.
All right, guys. Thank you, Juan. Thank you for all that information. It's great info, especially for those who don't understand why the coverage is what it is. Make sure you rely on people like Juan to give you guys as much education as possible. Thanks, brother. See you
Thank
next
you.
one.
Thank you.